So, it continues. Hello there, welcome back to Max's Writing Advice Q&A. In tonight's episode, I've got a selection of questions sent by viewers just like you. Remember that if you have a question, leave it in the comments down below. I will give you a quick answer to help you go along your way as quick as possible. But I will also add it to the pool of questions that get answered every week on this video. Before I go on anywhere, though, allow me to remind you, as always, that the following is merely just my advice, my opinion, and what works for me. Don't take it as gospel, instead take it as the ramblings of a silly person who looks a little bit, or rather precisely like this. Anyhow. Today we actually have 4 questions, but the first one is actually like super quick. I'm just gonna cover it in like 2 seconds, so let's take it from the top. The first question goes a little bit like this. Hi, do you have any tips on expanding a vague idea into something workable? Yes, I do! I have an entire 1-hour workshop dedicated just to helping you work those things out. It is my guide for how to plan a novel from the ground up. There should be an annotation in the screen right now, a card on this corner of the screen, and also a link in the description down below. This is basically the reason why I don't make big videos on that, because I already did. It's a 1-hour workshop, it covers the entire process. My novel planning guide that I've been perfecting over like 5 years, it's there. I recommend you go check it out. There should also be a link in the description down below. Did I repeat myself? I don't think I did. But yes, there you go. All of the information you need to know is gonna be down there, okay? Okay. Alright, that was a quick, easy question out of the way. Let's talk about something a little bit different. The first formal question of the day goes a little bit like this. I have been in a reading slump lately. How do you get back in the mood to read? I love for you to do a video if possible. Smiley face. I absolutely get what you mean, especially after a long period of finishing a whole series, or maybe getting involved with a different medium, especially like I feel that it's hard for me to sometimes get back into books after playing like a really big game, so it's completely understandable. My advice is actually pretty straightforward. First and foremost, check in on that writer you really like. It's entirely likely they have a new book out. You should read that. You should also follow these writers and check out what they are reading. I particularly enjoy following Stephen King's Twitter, mostly because he's new to the whole social media thing, so it's always adorable to see him talk about his dog. And also, he's talking about the books he's reading and the shows he's watching, and it's always like, ooh, I didn't know that book existed, I should go check it out. So, there is that. You can also consider going on a reading adventure. Just grab a book off the shelves. Or you can also go support your local secondhand bookshop and grab a book off the shelves and just read it. I mean, pay for it and then read it at home. Or you can read it on their, if they have chairs there or something, but definitely pay for the book first. Read it, you're not gonna learn just by reading the good books. Sometimes it's good to read bad books here and there, or you won't know if the book is good or bad unless you read it, so there's that too. With that being said, another really cool thing to consider is there any book that you have ever wanted to read? Is there a book, a really popular, famous book that you've always wanted to, sink your teeth into and see if it's actually good? I did that a while back, particularly with dystopian books, and I was like, oh, so this is what many people consider to be the start of the dystopia genre. And then you learn a lot of things such as, wow, this book is actually not very good. But that's part of an adventure, isn't it? No, I'm going too long on this one. Another thing that I will just say right here, for anyone out there who is starting out with writing or would like a little bit of a burst of inspiration to return to them when it comes to writing, there are 3 books that I personally believe, in my opinion, that every writer should read, and the books are as follows. The first one every one of you knows, because I talk about this book like every other video, Stephen King's On Writing. Half memoir, half writing advice. I love that book. The audiobook is even better because Stephen King reads it himself, and you get that extra 10% of particular punctuation and pronunciation of certain like segments and passages. It's a blast to read. I love On Writing by Stephen King to the extent that I pretty much listen to it once a year. It's just that good. Every time I feel down about my writing, I pick up the audiobook and they give it a listen. The second book that I think everyone should read is Anne Lamott's Bird by Bird. Everyone that told me to read On Writing also told me to read Bird by Bird, and I didn't trust them for a long while, mostly because I have issues trusting certain people's book tastes. That's not like a judgment call, it's just like a very specific person thing. But then later I picked it up and I really enjoy it. Anne Lamott's Bird by Bird is less structured than Stephen King's, because Stephen King's On Writing is like, half of it is memoir. It's literally half memoir, and the memoir establishes certain points that he will mention later in the writing advice part. Almost as a way as to justify, it's like, yeah, the reason why I feel this particular way is because this happened to me, and this is what I learned in my own writing journeys. That. And Lamet is less structured, and is not even, like, chronological, like, she jumps all over the place, and that's cool, it's interesting. I particularly like it. I like it to the extent that I feel that it's almost stand-up comedy. There are parts of this book that is vulgar, and part of them that are hilarious, and I actually really like that. I also listened to the audiobook, and it's actually really good. I don't think Anne Lamott reads it herself, I don't think so, I think it's another person, but Bird by Bird is also really good. The last of the books that I recommend is a classic, a book that everyone recommends, The Elements of Style by E.B. White and William Strunk Jr. It's a classic. It's a staple of writing advice. The main point here is that these are not, it's a collection of pieces of advices. It's a collection of writing tips, and it's not even that big. It's like a really short book. And the focus of it is just to seek to create the most clear writing possible. Is staying away from things such as double negations and adverbs and things that just clog up the writing. It's just a really good read. I'm not gonna claim that I follow every rule on that book, because I don't, but it's a really good point of reference to just go, oh yeah, I understand why E.B. White, who I believe is the author of Charlotte's Web, and William Strunk Jr. believed these particular points. That's all right. You can follow them or not, but it's good to know somebody else's point of view. So, links to all of these books and the audiobook versions of all of them in the links down below. Again, Stephen King's On Writing, Anne Lamott's Bird by Bird, and E.B. White and William Strunk Jr.'s The Elements of Style. Those 3 books are, if there was a glass case for break in need of writing advice, those 3 books would be there, no question about it. And with that being said, I went too long on that. I love talking about books that I particularly enjoy. I recommend you go check those books out. I think that you would definitely get something out of them, especially on writing. On Writing is such a good book. I'm doing it again. The second question of the day goes a little bit like this. Hello, I just read an article about rookie mistakes that writers make, and one of the mistakes was that most people write too much. I agree with that, but how am I supposed to know what information is unnecessary if I write everywhere with the intention of plot progression or character development? I'm not even gonna put the timer on for this question. It's the subject of today's video, the centerpiece, the name on the tin. Let's talk about rookie mistakes. Or the reason why listening to people talking about rookie mistakes is actually not even that important. How meta of you, Max! Yes, it's all misdirection. I got you. You're sitting down watching. It's time to talk about this stuff. First off, real talk. The very reason why I began my writing advice blog years ago. 5 years ago? Damn. Why I began my writing advice blog so many years ago, and this channel is because I found so much writing advice to be about negativity and the things that were wrong with writing, as opposed to encouraging people to write and telling them the things that they should do or ways to fix their problems, as opposed to just giving them more problems to deal with. And as you can see by the situation that you have in front of you, I'm like leaning forward as though we're in a bar or something. You read an article that was like, hey, these are the things that that rookie writers make. And I love that because they can say whatever they want. They can tell you, hey, rookie writers write too much, and also rookie writers write too little. But they just gave you problems. They gave you things that are wrong with your writing, or you saw your own writing in them, but they didn't actually tell you how to fix these problems, and they didn't tell you what to do about them or why they were wrong. And that is usually the general problem with them. So, first and foremost, I would like to repeat again, do not take these articles seriously. Take them with a grain of salt. Remind yourself that they are, after all, a person's opinion. And, unfortunately, they are often formatted to be, for lack of a better word, clickbait. They want you to click on their website. And they will achieve this, by having big, bold, scary titles such as 5 mistakes rookie authors make, 10 things that will get your manuscript rejected, are you writing a cliche, 3 ways to know if your main character is a Mary Sue. It goes on and on and on. Now, it would be a little silly for me to end the question right here because I haven't actually helped you. So, let me share with you my experience. Because the idea of like all rookie writers are doing this is just immediately flawed, but you know what? Let's not talk about that. my point of view, and if you follow me on Twitter, you know this, because I share my word counts and my end of day word counts there. I feel when I'm writing that I write too much, but then when I go to the revision stage and I actually read over my writing, I often find that I didn't write enough. I also happen to have dyslexia, so there's always like a gap between what I'm trying to say and what ends up on the page. So I spent, personally, a lot of my time during revision actually adding more to the manuscript. Stephen King, as a matter of fact, talked about this on his book on writing. You might have heard of it. I think I talked about this in a previous video. Not this one, definitely not this one. Some writers take your outers, and other writers are putting inners, and I am definitely a writer that puts more writing into the revision draft than takes out. Why do I add more writing? Because ultimately, when I'm revising, I want to make sure that my writing is clear, that the reader, is understanding what I'm saying, and that my point is getting across. The thoughts and images that I had on my mind are getting across, making their way through the narration and into your own imagination. To be clear, I think it's one of the things that we have to seek to do as writers, and whether you write too much or too little, it doesn't actually matter, because it can be clear either way. Ultimately, as long as it's clear, it doesn't really matter. Which reminds me, revision. How can you know what part of your story needs to be cut? How do you know if you wrote too much? How do you know if you wrote too little? How do you know what to cut, where to add, what to do? Revision. Revision is your friend. When the time comes, you're going to read your story, and you're going to read it as though somebody else wrote it, because they did. Someone else wrote it. You, from a couple months back, a couple weeks back. That version of you no longer exists. You're now a different person, a new individual, and you will read it as though someone else wrote it. And I can promise you that it will become clear. You will notice as you read, oh yeah, that sentence, it's a little puffy, it needs a little bit of trimming, or this passage is not clear at all. I used the double negation here, and double negations are literally the most ineffective way of saying something. As a little bit of an extra tip, because I know that most people, I tell them revise, and they go, yeah, but what do I do when I revise? Well, here's what I think you should do. What works for me the best. When you are in the act of revision, probably the second pass. The first pass, just revise typos and fix all the really obvious things that you see with your eyes. The second time you read the story, read it out loud in front of a mirror. Pretend that you are reading it before an audience. Get in character. Stand up if you want. And you will know if a sentence is unclear, if it's too short, or if it's too long. You may be asking, Max, how? Because you may find that at times there will be long and drawn out sentences with plenty of commas and extremities and proportions that don't actually seem to vary to the point at hand, and it will just go on and on and on with run-ons and many other commas, maybe a semicolon here and there, and you will find that at times these sentences will leave you breathless. So, with that being said, once again, dear writerly friend, I would like to remind you that there are articles out there in the world that want you to click on them, and you can click on them if you want, but keep in mind that there are somebody else's opinion, somebody's point of view, and they're not objective, and definitely not ultimate. So, if you feel, for reasons that you have found yourself, that maybe your story is a little bit puffy here and there, a little bit overstuffed, maybe there's some filler here and there, I can assure you that right now during the first draft, you have no reason to worry about any of that, because you will fix it all during the revision draft, okay? Okay. As for the third question of the day, it's a little special, and I think, because this is we've had a really serious question, so let's have a nice fun question, courtesy of the random number generator. It goes a little bit like this. Hey Max, I've always thought of what makes a great psychological antagonist, and how I would write a character like that, but I'm struggling with the idea of him/her cursing, because I go back and forth with myself, saying to myself, oh, I could have written that more gracefully, but sometimes nothing gets a point across quite like a swear word. Thoughts? Yeah, this is a special question. I think that I haven't talked about the concept or the idea of swearing in your writing in like a year. So that's exciting. Let's talk about swearing. The following answer is going to contain lots of swearing language. I'll probably just bleep it out because I'm going to use tons of it. So yeah, that. Alright, so I'm going to just be bleeping myself from here on, or I'll just cut the audio track or something. So anyhow. I feel like this mostly depends on the culture that you grew up in, and I guess whether you came from a very religious background or something like that. Because my main belief has been with writing, and from reading advice, such as Stephen King's on writing. Have you heard of that book? I don't think I've mentioned that today, but yeah, Stephen King's on writing. He talks about this as well. You're gonna write characters, and you must be true to who they are. I think that the unspoken agreement between you and the reader is that you wrote the story as it came to you, and you did not censor yourself, and you didn't silence characters. And I think that's what makes a really good story. It's just to be completely honest. This is how the story came to me. And sometimes you're gonna have characters who are going to swear. You're gonna have characters who are going to say and many other swear words like that. Oh, it's gonna be really funny with me just cutting the dialogue out. You're gonna write characters like that, and that's okay, because people swear. People swear all the time. You should know. You should know. Lady Kirin, as a matter of fact, my closest friend, my best friend, Lady Kirin, friend of the channel. She is adorable. She is gorgeous. I love her, and she's always dressed in like really cute clothing. She wears Lolita clothing all the time, and it's hilarious because she looks adorable, and then she swears like a sailor. I love her. I love her so much. She's just such a wonderful set of contradictions, and that's okay. And why would that be okay? Well, as I mentioned in the past, if you want your characters to feel like real people, you gotta treat them like real people, and sometimes real people swear. Sometimes they swear all the time. Sometimes you have a narrator who swears, and that's okay. Sometimes you have a lead character who swears all the time. Sometimes you have a lead character who will never, ever, ever be heard saying something as vile as and that's okay. You can have characters who, instead of swearing, rely upon much softer words like, oh, crap. But that's part of their character, and that's okay. The main thing I want you to take from this is that swearing is completely okay. There is nothing wrong with it. It's part of writing, and especially in dialogue, because the whole thing with dialogue, the whole purpose of dialogue is to write it the same way that people talk. And sometimes people swear, and that's okay. You could even say that is okay. So, once again, dear writer friend out there, I would like to inspire you to first and foremost consider how this character that you're writing would talk or narrate, and if they swear, then they swear. That is completely okay. The goal of this is to write a character the way that it comes to us, without censoring them, without silencing them. And really, sometimes people swear. That's just the way things are. Sometimes there's no other way. That was a little silly. A little bit too silly. A little bit too silly. But you know what? That's okay, because that's the way that I am as a character, as a person. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that if anything, I gave you another point of view. For the time being though, if you have questions for future videos, as well as your point of view on the questions that were answered today, please let us know in the comments down below. I will answer whatever question you send as quickly as I can. And one more thing before I go, if you enjoy my videos and would like to make sure that I can continue on making them for the foreseeable future, please consider pledging to my Patreon page. Patreon is a wonderful website where viewers just like you can pledge your hard-earned money towards the people that you enjoy and the content that you love. If you pledge to my Patreon page, you can get early access to my videos, and many other perks. But if Patreon's not your cup of tea, how about a cup of coffee? I'm not holding a cup of coffee right now. Link to all of these things in the description down below. For the time being though, I want to thank you for watching, thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I'll see you on the next one.